All right, so you want to be an import-export specialist, huh? In the tech world, no less. Ambitious. Well, we're taking a deep dive into RoleCatcher.com's career guide today. They've got the info to get you started. And forget just shipping boxes. This is a whole different ballgame. This is about the ins and outs of international trade.
Yeah, it's a bit like being a modern day Marco Polo of tech, connecting the world one gadget at a time. And this guide really emphasizes the importance of having a strong foundation. Like, you got to know the rules of the game. Import-export laws, customs procedures, all the paperwork. It's about making sure that the tech world stays connected legally.
So you're saying it's not just about moving gadgets from point A to point B. It's about moving mountains of legal documents,
It's
too.
all part of the job. And that's where the specialist part comes in, right?
Yeah.
You're the expert who makes sure those shipments go through without a hitch. Like, let's say there's a shipment of, I don't know, graphic cards stuck at customs because of some new regulation. An import-export specialist would know exactly what to do, who to call, how to navigate that whole situation.
Okay, so it's about being a problem solver, too.
Exactly. And not just any problem solver, but one who's constantly adapting. Because the world of international trade, it's always changing. And when you throw technology into the mix, things get even more interesting.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. The guide kept mentioning cutting-edge technology. What exactly do they mean by that?
Well, think about it. Global trade is all about speed and efficiency, right? That's where things like blockchain come in.
Hmm?
Instead of relying on like traditional paper trails, blockchain creates this secure record of where a shipment's been.
Oh, okay. So instead of some dusty old ledger, it's all digital and tamper-proof.
Exactly. And it's not just blockchain either. There's AI being used to like optimize shipping routes, predict delays, even automate some of those customs processes.
Wow, so it's like technology is making the import-export world even more, well, high-tech.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time to be in this field, especially if you're passionate about both technology and global business.
It does sound pretty exciting. But the guide also mentioned it's a pretty competitive field. With all this cool tech and global intrigue, I can see why. So how does someone even begin to stand out?
Networking is huge. The guide actually highlights a few organizations, like the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and the International Federation of Freight Forwarders Associations. Those are gold mines for connections.
So it's all about who you know.
It helps. But seriously, these organizations provide amazing resources too, like workshops, webinars, to help you stay up to date in this ever-changing field.
Makes sense. Practical experience is key too, though, right?
Hmm.
And speaking of showcasing your skills, let's talk interviews. I know you've been on both sides of the table. What are interviewers looking for in this field?
They want to see that you're not just book smart. You need to be able to handle the unexpected. Remember that example about the graphic cards? That's the kind of scenario interviewers might throw at you.
Oh, right. So you need to be ready for anything.
Pretty much. One of the sample interview questions was, how would you handle a shipment delay due to a customs issue? It's a classic for a reason. They want to see how you think on your feet.
That makes sense. I mean, with so many moving parts, delays are bound to happen, right?
Oh, absolutely. And when they do, you need to be able to handle it, not just find a solution, but communicate effectively with everyone involved.
So you're not just the logistics whiz, you're like a diplomat,
Mm,
a negotiator. This job really needs like a specific skill set, doesn't it?
you got it. You need to be on top of the technical stuff, sure, but you also need those people skills to handle tricky situations and culture differences. Think about it. You could be talking to a supplier in, say, China one day and then dealing with a customs official in Brazil the next. It's a lot.
Wow, it really is a global role.
Hmm.
And with all those regulations and procedures, it sounds like you're always learning something new.
You hit the nail on the head there. It's not the kind of job where you can just coast. The guide really emphasizes the importance of, like, continuous learning, keeping up with all the latest trends, the regulations, everything.
That makes sense, especially in a field that's changing so rapidly. And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, RoleCatcher seems to be doing just that for job seekers. Their whole platform is built around using AI to, like, streamline the job search process.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Think about it. In the past, you'd have to spend hours on those job boards, tweaking your resume for each application, prepping for interviews. RoleCatcher brings it all together, all in one place.
Like having a personal career assistant. I thought those career stage examples they gave were really helpful too.
Hmm.
Seeing how an import-export specialist can move up from entry level to, like, a management position.
Oh, definitely. It helps to visualize that career path, right?
Yeah.
You see the skills you could gain, the responsibilities, the potential salary growth. It's pretty inspiring, honestly.
It shows it's not a dead-end job, that's for sure. There's real potential to climb the ladder in this field.
No doubt. You could focus on a specific region, or become a specialist in a particular type of tech product. You could even move into consulting or management. The possibilities are endless, really, like the global market itself.
Speaking of global, we can't forget about the travel perks. The guide mentioned that as a major plus.
Oh, yeah. Imagine jetting off to meet suppliers in Tokyo or going to a conference in Dubai, maybe even visiting overseas branches in Amsterdam. It's a chance to experience different cultures, build those international relationships. It's amazing.
The perfect blend of business and pleasure. But with all this talk about global trade and cutting-edge tech and travel, are there any downsides? Anything we should be aware of?
That's a really good question. It's important to remember that this job can be pretty demanding. You're always working with deadlines, dealing with complex regulations, and there's always the potential for something unexpected to pop up.
Like that customs delay we talked about. Or what if, like, a volcano erupts and messes up all the air freight schedule?
Exactly. Things happen. And when you're dealing with global logistics, even small hiccups can have a domino effect. You got to be adaptable, resourceful, you got to keep your cool under pressure.
So you need to be able to think on your feet.
Exactly. You're the one who stays calm and finds solutions when everyone else is freaking out. On top of that, the job market's not a walk in the park either. It's super competitive, especially in tech.
And that's where RoleCatcher comes in, right? To give you that competitive edge.
Right. Their AI resume builder, the interview simulations, the job tracking, those are all super helpful. But more than that, it's about your mindset.
You got to have that right attitude. It's not just about checking boxes. It's about rolling with the punches.
100%. Being able to handle whatever gets thrown your way, always thinking ahead. Because in this field, just when you think you've seen it all, something new pops up.
Right. So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into this whole import-export specialist thing, what's the one thing you'd want someone listening to take away from all of this?
That this isn't just a job. It's like having a backstage pass to how the world works. You're not just watching the future of global trade, you're actually shaping it. And yeah, it's tough, it's a lot of work, but for someone who's up for a challenge, it's incredibly rewarding.
I love that. Like you said earlier, it's like being a modern-day Marco Polo, connecting the world through tech. And a tool like this RoleCatcher guide, it's like having a map and a compass all in one.
Exactly. And here's something else to think about, right? We've been talking about computers and software and all that, but these skills, they apply to so many other industries.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about understanding how global trade works, which is useful everywhere.
Exactly. Think about renewable energy, for example, or sustainable agriculture, even like space exploration. As those fields grow, they'll need people who can handle the ins and outs of international trade.
Wow, that's pretty amazing when you think about it. The future global trade is wide open. And for anyone willing to put in the work, the possibilities are limitless.